Now, there are a lot of factors that US-based tech companies weigh before taking the IPO plunge. One top factor is deciphering a company's readiness, international expansion. Now, that's according to a new report out by Index Ventures. The report provided a guide to overseas expansion and found that at least 30% of revenue among top US public tech companies comes from international markets, usually led by Europe. Joining us now from San Francisco is Index Ventures partner Ilya Fushman. Ilya, it's a great piece of work. It's all about expanding into Europe. It seems to be a guide to US startups and how to really make their presence felt on this side of the Atlantic. But talk to us first about the data point here that US big tech companies have about 30% of their revenue internationally. How crucial is that?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a really interesting data point, and we find that it's pretty critical. It's a really good indicator that you've reached global scale or you're on your way to reaching global scale. It shows a diversity of business. It means your business has more customers that diversify the base. And it's frankly something we've empirically found across a number of companies. And really, it's kind of a lower threshold. We find that companies like Facebook or LinkedIn, when they went public, were even higher. Facebook was 44%, LinkedIn was 46%. So really seeing that 30% number should indicate to a company that they're about to hit global scale and they should expand. And Europe is the first destination they should go to.
I mean, what's interesting, though, is that Snapchat notably didn't have that much international presence. We've been talking about this company all day because Carson Block's come on and said potentially this would be a short for him. And they were, what, 13% presence in Europe, 8% rest of the world. Are they outliers when they have less international presence but still can come to the market and IPO successfully?
Definitely early on their global expansion, but they fast followed with opening an office in London, which I thought was a great move. Overall, though, has been a good story. Lots of it in the news, but still a very strong performer. So I think you'll see companies like that have more potential try to catch up more quickly.
What's interesting is you're saying, look, go to Europe. This is really where you're seeing the statistics weigh out that their dominant revenue stream, internationally speaking, comes from Europe. Why not Asia? Why not the growth-orientated part of the world that we see there?
Yeah, Asia is an amazing market. It's vast, it's huge, and lots of opportunity, lots of big companies there. So we think Asia is a great destination. But what we found is that if you're a company that started in, say, North America, and you want to have your first kind of step to global expansion, Europe's really the best place to go. And it's a few factors. The first is just the similarity of customers, whether it's consumers for social kinds of businesses or it's enterprises for B2B companies. They're very similar to the ones you find in North America. And their buying behavior, the way they think about infrastructure, it's pretty easy to go to Europe from the US. You can then take the learnings from that, from the way you've landed and expanded, and then take that to Asia. But sometimes Asia is a little bit harder. I mean, if you look at a company like Evernote, which I think did a decent job, they had to set up separate infrastructure in Asia. They had to set up a joint venture. So from a infrastructure and business complexity, it's a little bit harder. Now, we've also seen companies that have tried to go to both geos at the same time, and sometimes they've succeeded and sometimes they've failed. And we see companies like Google that have not made it there yet.
And when you're talking to your portfolio companies, potentially on the eyeing up the IPO landscape and deciding to come to Europe, where are they looking to lock down? Because I'm here in London, it's one of the biggest tech hub in Europe, but there is a concern, there is Brexit, of course. Do you say, hey, go to Berlin, go to Amsterdam? Where's the key city they should really reside?
It really depends on how you think about your business. So for example, when we expanded at Dropbox, we had a great opportunity because we had a lot of customers in Europe. We wanted to support those customers, and customer support was really the key driver. So based on that, we actually went with Dublin as the landing spot. And now other companies may choose London because it's great for fintech, financial services, for enterprise companies, and really just a great talent hub. We see Berlin and Amsterdam as great destinations, and I think Paris will come up soon as well.
And I've got a great question coming from a viewer that's been sent in directly, and they're asking about valuations at the moment. I mean, we're looking at technology valuations on the S&P 500 being really at elevated levels, the highest spread versus the rest of the S&P 500 since 2008. We're at like 24 times price to earnings. Does that mean this is a great time to be starting to IPO? Is that what you're telling portfolio companies, or are you more concerned?
We're pretty bullish on this window. I mean, if you look at just some of the recent outcomes, whether it's an Okta or Snap that we just talked about, you've seen huge pops right after these companies went public, and that's really a lot of pent-up consumer demand and generally demand for tech. We think tech's never been stronger, and it's going to continue to increase. So we're quite bullish on encouraging our companies to go out if they have everything that it takes, and obviously having a presence in Europe is a big part of that.